And sadly, what happens is I went to the political rally on Saturday, and it was basically a pro-Harper rally. And I'm someone who's neutral. I'm not on the Harper side, and I'm not on the other side because I don't support the other side because it leads right back to Chrétien. And I think that Dion, in my humble opinion, is nothing more than just a lieutenant for Chrétien and carries out Chrétien's interest. I support the fact that if we brought someone else in that has no ties to Chrétien, I may think about supporting the coalition. But at this time, I don't. And also with Harper, you have to remember the tie over to the Heritage Front, the tie over to the National Citizen Coalition, the tie over to the basically over to the Alliance Party, and the fact that when Harper first got elected for Alliance Party leader, he refused to disclose the list of political supporters that paid into his campaign. He still has not disclosed that. And according to Canadian Election Act, if anyone gives more than $250, you're supposed to disclose the information. He doesn't want to. Now, with that in mind, with the also at this campaign, I felt like I was at a Nazi rally. It was almost like the crowd was. I swear the crowd was close to saying "Zeke Kyle," because they were. It was like I am a veteran. I served my time in the Canadian Armed Forces. I've done my time. So if anyone doesn't like those comments and you haven't done your time, please don't bother saying anything to me, because if you haven't served more than 3 years in the military, don't bother saying anything to me, because I look upon that as that's how I look upon it. I served for almost 9 years, from 86 to 95, and I went over to Iran in 1988. And when I was at this rally, I was so sickened with the fact that they're trying to basically say, oh, our soldiers are over in Afghanistan fighting for us. No, our soldiers should be back here in Canada protecting us. Our soldiers should not be fighting a war that I do not agree with at all. And what happens is that you got to look at it this way: is that Canada was known for peacekeeping. We were once a peacekeeping nation, and I'm from the peacekeeping generation. And so with that said, with the current political upheaval in Canada in regards to Harper and the coalition against the Conservatives, what is your comment on all this there, James?
Do you want me to tell you the truth, or do you want me to...
Well, actually, what happens, Money Brown Bagger believes in the truth. We basically want the truth out there, so please go ahead, say the truth.
All right, well, here's the truth, and it's really important that Canadians understand what's actually taking place. The bottom line is we have no real true political party in Canada. Either it be the NDP, the Liberals, or the Conservatives, or the Greens. Whether or not that offends people, I really don't care. In 98, you had Stéphane Dion go to a Bilderberg conference. You have John Chrétien has ties to the Bilderbergs, ties to the power corporations, ties to the NACC, which is SPP. You have Stephen Harper, who is a Bilderberg. You have members of the Bilderbergs and the Trilateral Commission involved in the Conservative Party. John Manley, who came out and said that Stéphane Dion shouldn't be the leader, was one of the 25 distinguished North Americans who wrote the CFR's Building of a North American Community. Jack Layton, who publicly says that the NDP is against the SPP and against NAFTA, attended the Interparliamentary Convention this year in Quebec, which is part of the SPP and part of the North American Union. So my honest opinion on this coalition and the Conservative thing is that we should fire them all. And that's the truth, because they're not working for Canadians. If you look at what's happening, it's actually a great political game of smoke and mirrors, divide and conquer. Because what they're doing is Harper had to know when he put those things in his budget that it was going to tick off the opposition. I mean, Harper's not a stupid guy. He's an economist. He's very, very ingenious. So just by looking at it from that, he knew that that was going to cause what's taking place. And in 2005 or 2004, he formed a coalition with the NDP and the Bloc to take down the Liberal Party, and he knew that that's what would take place. So anyone who doesn't think that this wasn't done on purpose should really look at what's the whole picture. As for the coalition, I find it funny. I voted NDP in the last election, but I find it funny that here you have the NDP jumping in bed with the Bloc, whose main purpose is Quebec sovereignty, and Quebec has not been brought back into the Constitution because it's never been re-signed, and jumping in with the Liberals, the same political party who gave us NAFTA, gave us gun control, gave us the SPP, signed the North American Union. Just by looking at that, how can Canadians realistically think that we actually have options, politically speaking? If you go and you find the agreement between the Liberals and the NDP that's backed up by the Bloc, they come right out and say that they're going to continue and push forward the agreement that was signed at the G20 of central bank stimulus. Well, you can't keep throwing money at a problem that's not going to be fixed. People are losing their jobs because of the trade deals that have been set up that allow manufacturers to move wherever they want freely. People are losing their jobs because a Club of Rome, the think tank, came out with limits to growth. I mean, you talked about pulp and paper. Well, how many people in Canada have read the limits to growth where they come right out and say we need the industrialized nations to stop manufacturing their natural resources and we need to go to third world and we need to change the economies? Well, that's what they're doing. And people look at it as, our politicians decide our laws or our politicians do this. Well, they don't. The politicians pass the laws and the agendas of the national or the non-government organizations and the transnational corporations and their lobbyist buddies. And this coalition talks about how, and it's hard for me to see the NDP and the Liberals together because they're supposed to be two opposites on the political spectrum. I guess this goes to show that there is no difference. How can the NDP, who for the most part says they always stand for workers, get in bed with a party that signed an agreement, NAFTA and the SPP, which undermines the workers in Canada? That doesn't make any sense from a logical perspective. I mean, people are blinded and they follow parties blindly, and they need to take their blinders off and see what the policies and agendas that these people are actually pushing for, because it's not necessarily for the hardworking Canadian. I mean, we had 71,000 jobs lost in the month of November alone, 41,000 in Ontario alone. The United States has been in a recession since December of last year. They only admitted last week that they were in a recession, and yet they've known for the last year that they've been in a recession. So we personally, my opinion is the coalition, crap. The Conservative is crap. Whether or not that offends your listeners or Co-op Radio, it's not the point. The point is, as Canadian, we have the right to freely express ourselves and speak our minds, and we're being led down a road that not enough people are paying attention to. Anybody who thinks that Harper put that on there because he thought it would pass, or he didn't think it would ruffle feathers, or he didn't know that it would form a coalition, they're doubting the guy's ingenious. Now, what's interesting to note is the date that we go back for the budget confidence motion is on the 27th. Barack Obama's inauguration is on the 20th. On MSNBC, Colin Powell said there's going to be a generated crisis come 21st or 22nd. Joe Biden at a $25,000 plate VIP dinner in Seattle, not knowing that there was somebody there recording what he was saying, said, "Mark my words, if you don't take anything out of this $25,000 plate dinner, remember that there's going to be, that I said that there's going to be a generated crisis to test the mettle of Barack Obama." Well, I mean, we know, for those of us aware, we know that they want to do a false flag. We know that they want to, they want the people to say, hey, we want North American security perimeter. We want that around us. That's what they're going to try and push for. And Canadians, I mean, where's our union leadership standing up and saying, you know what, this coalition is not a good deal because we're making a deal with the same party, political party that signed NAFTA and SPP, the same party that has allowed these corporations to leave, that has allowed corporations to become shells of what they once were in this country. Where is that stance? It's not there. In fact, they said that we're going to push the G20's proposals. Well, that's international law. We're losing our sovereignty as a nation and the ability to determine where we're going to go as a nation to these outside influences, and these outside influences don't have our best interest at heart. And Canadians need to stop paying attention to the parties and pay attention to the policies and the agendas that's being pushed forward, and don't follow them blindly, because the agenda is clear. I mean, it's fairly obvious what they're trying to do.